everyone. My name is Alanna Levenson, and I am here with my guest, Marti Stary. Welcome, Marti.
Good morning. Good morning, Alanna.
So just a quick introduction of myself. I have been coaching professionally for 19 years. I started in 2005, and I've coached people as old as 16 and as young as 80, as I say, many stages of life on many different topics. And although I do a lot of coaching on career and business, and I am a career and lifestyle developer, life coaching does come up because there's many different layers to that. So that's why I wrote this book. It comes from personal experience and the experience of others, from clients and friends. And I have Marti here because she is such a great person to be able to speak to this book. So I'd also like to introduce Marti, and she is a master bioenergetic synchronization technique practitioner. That's a mouthful. Known as B.E.S.T. She is a licensed massage therapist and a 34-year science educator. She's passionate about teaching others about natural health and healing. She began her journey in natural health when her daughter was tested and confirmed to have several food allergies. And boy, do I know what that's like, because I have them too. The journey began an enlightening growth experience, expanding her learning to multiple fields, and has continued to enable her to facilitate others in their healing journeys. She now guides clients in clearing emotional trauma, which is the root cause of dis-ease. Being in a healing field, her depth of experience with relationships includes leading people to the very core of their pain, which supports transformation and impactful change in their lives. Relationships such as self, partner, and family are her areas of expertise. So you can probably now see why I have her here with us. So thank you, Marti. So I just first want to say, I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me today, and also for reading my book. It was 15 years in the making, finally putting it.
It's a great read. It's really, really good. And it's kind of one of those must reads for people. There's so much in it that I think the average person may go, I never thought of that. So it's really good.
I love that. So, and on that note, although there's a certain target audience that I thought about when I wrote this and put this out there, what the feedback that I got from you and a couple other people is that this could be valuable for people in different types of scenarios. So it expand out to different types of relationships or living arrangements. So
yes.
Yeah. So I'd like to start off and just say, what stood out to you the most when you read it?
I think for me, it's the practicality of it. It is, it's not a lot of extraneous stuff. It goes right to the meat. And it's like, here's the information. Here's what I'm going to offer. You can go to it and read it and go, oh, I didn't think to ask these questions. I didn't think about interviewing different people. I didn't know I could empower myself to put myself in the control seat, so to speak, the pilot seat.
Yeah.
So I think the practicality of it and the ease of use, because it's really informative. It just blew my mind.
Thank you. So there's a couple things I wanted to ask you based on the work that you do and the relevance to this book. So one is ideally somebody would get this and use it, read it, really prepare before they have somebody move in. Although this could be used even though somebody has already moved in. And that was something that you and I talked about before we came on here for this recording. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that too.
So when people realize that other people are reflecting to them their own feelings, insecurities, disempowerment, all of that. Once we get a handle of that and use clear communication, things can shift. In a snap. And sometimes we think we're being really, 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 really clear. And they think we're like talking some other language and we're not on the same communication level. So it's always okay to ask, what I'm understanding you to say is, and all, that back and forth confirmation. And so this can happen at any point. Of course, it's optimum if you do it before.
Right.
But, this could be with a parent training a child. It could be with you and your spouse and the dishwasher. It can be with anything, your roommate and leaving their dirty dishes out. So it can go with lots of different things, but you must empower yourself. And, I don't know, those 4 agreements kind of come in that book by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yep.
Never make assumptions and don't take things personally. Those 2 things in a relationship of roommate or partner or family, they come in daily.
Yeah. Well, and those 4 agreements, those are so applicable to so many relationships. And I've seen that true for myself as well.
Right.
And it made me reflect on who I'm being, how I'm reacting, how I'm showing up, what I'm contributing to a relationship versus just, being judgmental or reactive to what I'm receiving.
Right.
That I can really own who I am in an experience and better myself. And that has not only helped me in that relationship, it had a ripple effect into others as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because as soon as you take the personal out of it and realize that, other people have a bad day.
Yeah.
And you don't know what they're coming with. You don't know what baggage people come and move in with, different things. And so when you can stop taking what they're doing personally, which is really hard.
Yeah.
But these feelings that you may have started a long time ago, and it's always perfect timing to get started and kind of change the way your thinking is, because when you change your energetic field, it changes everything around you for the better or for the worse. Yeah. I mean, it can go either way. But
what this reminds me of is, if we look at life as a journey and we look at the people that are crossing our path, that there's an intention for that. And we might not see it at first. And even if that relationship doesn't last, like, maybe you move in with somebody, or somebody moves in with you, or you find a place together, and 6 months later or a year later, you're like, no, this isn't working.
Right.
It was we're a choice. We can choose to see that as, God, that was a horrible experience. And, blame on the other person. And, oh, I'm so glad that's over. And then you move on and you don't use it to reflect on for yourself as a learning opportunity. Or you can look at it as a gift and think, what that relationship taught me. Here's what it taught me about myself.
That is correct.
Right? Here's what it taught me about my values. Here's what it taught me about what I want and what I don't want in this kind of relationship or in a living arrangement.
Yes.
It taught me what's important to me, things that I don't really care about, what I can be flexible on, what I'm not willing to be, like, what are my non-negotiables?
Yes.
Right? Like all of that. And not blame the other person. And then to your point, just going back a little bit of what I didn't know. Like I always, first I say assumptions are dangerous. That's one of my philosophies.
They are.
What we can assume is there's a lot that I don't know. So there's what I don't know. So, when we come into relationship, no matter what that relationship is, we're kind of bumping up against each other, and our stuff shows up and our stuff gets amplified. And
it is,
we can go into any relationship, let alone a living relationship, with the compassion for myself and compassion for someone else. When that stuff shows up, then that can create ease in fixing it and talking about it. And
true. Because when someone is showing up for you as exactly who they are, and you get all like, you're having a missed opportunity, because when something comes up, you can approach it as, what opportunity is this providing me to glean about myself?
Yeah.
Because they're always reflecting something back to you. So if you pause and you go, am I leaving dirty dishes out? Am I not cleaning up after myself? Am I having, guests over that might be questionable quality? I mean, you have to ask yourself where that touches your life, and maybe it's showing you have something to change. Yeah. Because it always shows up in perfect timing in a perfect way. So not taking it personally, reflecting back on you, and in taking that control of yourself, because that empowers you to be more calm, open, and able to look at it for what it is instead of reacting, because we can respond or we can react, and reactions just send people in different tangents that could have been avoided.
And though for those of you that are watching us, if you're thinking to yourself, well, aren't responding and reacting the same thing? No, they're not. There's a distinction between the two. And I so appreciate the fact that Marti just brought that up, because that's something that I work with my clients on all the time. And a very simple difference, and Marti, please share yours too, is reaction is just, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just reacting. It's very emotional. It's, I may be reacting to something they said a minute ago, and therefore I didn't even hear the last minute.
True.
Very intense. Whereas responding is very thoughtful. Like, I'm taking a moment, I'm taking a pause, I'm breathing, I'm being thoughtful, and I'm thinking about what I want to say, how I want to say it, and the impact it's going to have on what we're talking about, this person, our relationship. Yeah.
Right. What I find with the reacting part versus the response, when we're reacting, we're coming from a place of learning that happened normally. Now, usually it's pre-verbal, and it comes from a place of fear.
Yep.
And when we respond, and we come from more of a place of understanding, and we're able to think through it, realize our part in it, and have more compassion in dealing with the other person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it diffuses, it de-escalates anything that could have happened with them too. Because if you come at somebody like a barking dog, they're going to come bark right back at you. So keeping it on the even keel and putting it in I statements, I feel very la.
Yep.
So there's ways to do it. But yes, the response and the react are two different things. And the react is more a fear explosion. And the response is more a, I need to think about that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So in talking about all this, and then thinking about who I'm promoting this to, and who I want to give access to, I was thinking about women, like 35, 55, maybe even up to 65, who are divorced, maybe they're widowed. Maybe they've never lived in an apartment before, because maybe you got married super young, or you went, maybe you had your own apartment, or maybe you did live in a dorm room and then you met somebody in college and then been with that person ever since. Or maybe it's been a while. Like, maybe you did have, you lived with roommates during college or in your 20s, and then you got married, and and then now you're alone. And it's interesting navigating all of this, especially these days. Like, the world is a very different place. I mean, not just from, 20 years ago, but even just over the last few years, because of things that have happened in the world, or, transpired, that it's really affected how we relate to one another, how we create relationships, how we maintain relationships. So when I, in saying all that, in terms of my target audience, like, what are your thoughts about how this book can help those people?
Well, the book can help all ages that are doing this. And I get your target audience because, we're finding in our day and age with certain things that have happened worldwide that sometimes we want companionship, not in a relationship with somebody other than being a pal or having someone to have fun with. It's kind of like that Golden Girls kind of thing. Sometimes we just want someone to pal around with and have fun and bounce ideas off of. And sometimes maybe the person is still working and they just want someone there and they don't want to necessarily have a Golden Girls relationship. And so when you're going into something like that with the target audience, this book just puts it out there, because what are you looking for in a roommate? And, when we look at people changing their lives right now, it's becoming later and later and later.
Yeah.
And fear of change is something that really impacts so many people.
Yeah.
And when we break it down to the very bottom line, what is our purpose? Then it removes some of the fear. So if we look at the worst thing that can happen, we get a terrible roommate. Okay, that's the worst.
Right. Yeah.
All right, now let's move forward from that. So this target audience, first narrow down purpose for wanting a roommate.
Yep.
And your book puts that information out there. Do you want, ask these questions. It gives the questions right there. And, people that are older may have had college roommates, like you said, and they haven't had them for a while for whatever reason. And now they want somebody. And the questions that you provide in your book are, very insightful. And people can look at those and go, oh, I wish I would have had this in college. I could have found out and avoided la. So really, really good. But your target audience is more and more coming together to have companionship of some sort, to have somebody else to live with, to feel safe, to feel heard, to feel like they belong.
Yeah.
Because people living alone, we need 9 contacts a day with people for our brain health.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
And some people are not getting those contacts daily.
Yeah.
And we see people who are starting to kind of separate from society, and then it affects their health. It affects their brain. It affects so many areas. So if we can keep active, get a community that we enjoy, which could be, you could learn all kinds of things from a roommate and enjoy lots of different things and learn lots of different things. But in our society now, separation has become a real issue. And, it's like, mind your own business, don't look over here.
Yeah.
And yet we need that. We are social creatures. We need social. And so the more you can involve others in your life, in the way and manner that you intend, because not everyone intends to have a Golden Girls moment.
Nope. Yep.
And that needs to be clear communication up front, because you might interview me and I'm looking for the Golden Girls and you're looking for someone to just fill that space so you can work and be gone and someone's there.
I have a perfect example for that. A friend of mine, she has a condo that it's 3-bedroom condo. She's widowed. And a family friend reached out to her and asked if their daughter, who was going to college or going to taking a class locally here, she lived a couple hours away, could live in her condo with her and rent out one of her rooms, and that they would pay for it. So she said yes to it and I advised her, I said, you might want to specify a certain period of time. So there is that kind of setting expectations, right? So that this is be this long, ongoing for however long she wants. Because I asked her, I said, do you want a long-term roommate? She said, no. And I said, okay, well then it would be good to really identify by when you would like her to move out. Well, she didn't. It was this, what I call them unspoken agreements. She had an expectation where she kind of wanted a pal. I mean, this person was a little bit younger than her, but I think she was hoping for a little bit of companionship, someone that she could drink tea or coffee with and have meals with and talk about life and catch up. Like they didn't necessarily need to go out and, do a lot of social fun things together, but just someone to interact with in her home. And it was not that at all. This person had a boyfriend and would come in and come out, hardly ever communicated with her. She never really saw her. She was hard to get a hold of. She didn't really know how she was doing. Sometimes she didn't stay at the condo and she was just hoping that she was okay. And then, it kind of got a little uncomfortable when it came time for her to need to move out because it was a family friend. So there was that entanglement. And so it's such a perfect example of, and this is why I was like, I need to put this out there. This all came from personal experience. Some of the things that are in here I created because, to your point, I wish I had them when I was in college or in my 20s or all the times that I had a roommate so that I could, really approach it with intention and have it be a better experience. So, I mean, the good thing is that all contributed to this book that I wrote, but being intentional about that is
absolutely. And even intentionality about, are you a dog person or a cat person?
Yes.
I mean, because one of my roommates moved in, didn't say anything, and then all of a sudden had a cat that was climbing the curtains and shredding them.
God, yeah. Yep.
So, it is that clear communication, because when we're clear, then there's little room for misunderstanding. And then that removes the assumptions part.
And even though you have the conversation, and sometimes people still do things, right?
Yes.
And then you can go back and say, remember when we talked about this? That was meaningful for me. And to say it in that way, instead of like, remember when you talked about this, an impact.
Well, that's the response and the react.
Right.
So you can react or you can respond, we talked about this.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I want to go back to too, that you said was really, really important in terms of us being social creatures, and it's connection. We need, we crave, we absolutely, it's required for our wellness and well-being. And we need that connection. Now, how you get it is up to you. And we're not necessarily saying that when you live with someone that this is someone that you have to get it from. You don't. It's really what you want out of this living arrangement. That being said, make sure that you're clear to, if you're interviewing somebody, and I do call it interviewing, if you're interviewing somebody to live with, whether you're looking for a place together or you're moving in with them because they already are there in their place, or they're moving in with you in your place, make sure that, you talk about these things to make sure that you're setting expectations and you don't have any, what I call unspoken agreements.
Right. I mean, it's, when you have someone moving in with you or you're moving in with someone, remember, it's all energy.
Yeah.
And energy exchange is going to happen. And, when we talked earlier about, you want a quality person, you want quality guests, you want to be very clear on that, because you also have to look at who you're sharing your space with, because they may be wonderful. And like you said, they may be like MIA, missing in action.
Yeah.
Like one of my people that I knew, they had their granddaughter move in with them, thinking it was going to be wonderful. They were going to have meals, all this, and it didn't end up that way. And the room was a mess. There were bugs. She never came out. She went to work, came in, went to bed. So, connection is a real thing. And when you have a relationship like that, that's lack of connection.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very important to look at the connections you want, the quality connections.
So speaking of that too, so something else that's in my book that I reference is living with friends, because sometimes that deep connection, that cherished connection can be something that can be misguided in terms of thinking that you'll be great great living roommates or housemates too. So
No.
I would love to get your thoughts on it. I mean, my book shares some things, and yes, I'm saying you got to read the book, but what
Yes.
are your
Well, I encouraged my daughter when she went to college not to room with her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good idea. And she did anyway, and they're no longer best friends. And so with that being said, there were lots of different things that could have changed and happened and done along the way. It goes against my recommendation to live with someone that you're extremely close with as a friend, because you have such back history and you do take things personally and you do get your feelings hurt, because when they go and do something with someone else and you want to do it with them, you might take it personally. So that's taking it personally, making assumptions. And that goes on so many different levels. And, friendships should be give and take. Not all friendships are that way. And we sometimes have these connections that are less than healthy.
I call them unproductive.
Yes. And we really need to consider what our goal is in wanting a roommate. Again, if it's just to fill the space, great. If you've lived with your sister before and y'all love each other and y'all can just commingle and go and do, then fine. It's far from my recommendation, because those connections sometimes get broken.
Yeah.
Based on misunderstanding, misinterpretation, miscommunication, missed opportunities to clear and heal. There's just so many things that are underlying.
Yeah. From a personal experience about that, over the last couple of years, there was a time where there would have been an opportunity for me to go live with my sister for a little while. And me and my sister are really, really close. Because I practice what I preach, I said, can we have a really open, on the table conversation about unconscious expectations and make sure that they're conscious for us? Like, by me coming and living in your home with you, what are you expecting from me? And then I'll be able to share what I can expect from you. And, she's divorced, with 2 boys. This was a couple years ago, but now they're, late teenagers, but they were preteen, busy running. She started her own business, which is great. And it took off. And she really struggled with cleaning and, cooking and, food shopping and being able to do everything. Well, I don't have kids. I'm single at the time that I'm recording this. So she was saying what I also really need help with is doing the dishes and help cleaning up after the boys and helping me shop for food and running some errands and that sort of thing. And so I said, okay, I so appreciate your honesty and sharing this with me. I said, let me think about this. And I had to really think about it, because I'm running my own business too. And I'm working full time. And even though I don't have kids and I'm not in a relationship either, I have a life too. And it's like, do I want to play that role? And if I didn't, and it created some tension between us, how is that going to affect our relationship as sisters and friends? And so I came to the conclusion of like, this is probably not a good idea, because as much as I don't mind cleaning up after myself, and yes, every once in a while I can help clean up after the boys, but I don't want to have the expectation that I'm going to do that all the time. And that that's
more like nanny business, so to speak. It's like, you really have to watch that, because that is a dicey line.
Yeah. And so, we had the follow-up dialogue, and she totally understood. And, it gave us a new level of clarity in terms of our relationship too. And as much as I would have loved to spend that kind of time with her, because I love being with her and I love staying with her, it just, I knew it wasn't going to be the best idea. So,
and the people that fail to do what y'all did get angry with each other, split, and then I get one or the other, and they're having to realize about their own part in that and how to take responsibility for themselves and realize they were unclear in their communication and expectations. and what they desired. So leads kind of right into that. So I'm glad y'all strengthened your relationship by being open and honest.
Yes, absolutely. And I encourage that. If anything, that's what communication and relationships is really about, is to learn about ourselves, have people that can really support us, compliment us, give us the opportunity to have fun and enjoyment in life, and to, some things that we talked about earlier of co-living or living with other people. Just be really intentional about what you want from that, what your intentions are, and find out from the other person. So, so this has been a really great conversation, and I could talk to you about this all day. Just to close, is there any last words? Is there anything we haven't talked about, or any last words that you want to leave with our audience?
Well, let's see. Gosh, I have some stuff on my list.
Yeah, sure.
And, you just, I think we've kind of covered a lot of it. I do want to just touch real quickly, since I work a lot with people on forgiveness.
Yes. Okay, please.
Because forgiveness is a real thing, and the forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for you personally. And when we can forgive ourselves for being human, then we open the channels to forgive others for being human as well. And that's, again, where the clear communication comes in, because if we are so harsh and hard on ourselves, and that nasty, bored bully self-talk comes in about how terrible we are, then we tend to really be kind of in a tight space of being unable to change. And we have to realize that our humanness is going to come in, and people are going to make mistakes, and the perfection is in the growth of what is happening. And so being in a forgiving mode, which means responding instead of reacting, being clear in your communication, and realizing that it is probably going to ebb and flow. And, you hit on something so key just a minute ago when you said you were going to move into her space.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it differs.
Yes.
When you have someone moving into your space versus you moving into their space, it's a whole different dynamic. And communication is key. And forgive yourself for being human, and be willing to step up and go, I probably didn't handle that well, and I want to apologize.
Yeah.
So the forgiveness piece is something to make sure to keep an open mind about. And the information in your book, Alanna, it is so practical and so user. I mean, it's like information to just take and go, and be very clear and intentional.
I so appreciate that. Yeah. And I would suggest those of you that got the book, and after reading this, read the book a few times, because something new might pop out at you.
Yes.
Second or third time you read it, depending on what you're ready for. And then I also just want to reflect on what you just shared. It's so perfect. It's a philosophy for forgiveness that I share with clients, which is, I'm doing the best that I can with the tools that I have in any given moment. That's and just correct. Remember that others are doing the same too. So,
right. That's the compassion piece in there, and realizing that other people are showing us our stuff.
Yes.
And we have to be open to forgiving ourselves for being less than human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Marti, thank you so much for being here and for having this conversation with me. And for those that are watching or listening to this, again, this is a compliment to the Co-Living Companion, a comprehensive guide to cohabitating with others successfully. So we wish you success in whoever you choose to cohabitate with. And if you ever have any questions or comments or want more information about this, please reach out to me. And my email address will be included, and you can go to my website. So thank you for stopping by. All right.
My pleasure.